Hello my friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Em and welcome to a special spooky edition of book series bingo. So this is where we currently stand with the bingo board, and we're going to be making it a little bit spooky because it is October and I am planning on continuing on into spooky season series. This is that I'm a big fan of, and I'm really excited to read actually book 3 for both of these series. So today, or in this vlog, I will be finishing the Ruinous Love Trilogy by Brynne Weaver. I have Scythe and Sparrow, which is book 3. This is a standalone contemporary romance series about serial killers. Because, you know, why not? Book 1 is Butcher and Blackbird, which was an absolute favorite. I gave it 5 stars. I had such a good time with the gore and the horror and the camp and the romance. It was so fun. I didn't love Leather and Lark as much. There was less camp in this one, and I am a really big fan of camp. More camp is what I say. And so I thought the romance was fine, plot was fine, it was just fine. Just couldn't measure up to Butcher and Blackbird. And then Scythe and Sparrow, I'm really excited for this one because we have been teased about these two for the other 2 books, and I'm excited to see what happens with their romance, especially since they already know each other. I don't know if we'll get flashbacks or if we're just going to pick up right where Leather and Lark left off. We also ended Leather and Lark on a fairly big cliffhanger, especially for a contemporary romance series. So I'm really excited to find out what's going to happen. This is a little bit chunkier, I feel like, than the other ones, where it's almost 400 pages, which is a little bit long for contemporary romance, in my opinion. I think 350 is perfect length, but we shall see. Hopefully I love this, but it hasn't been getting stellar reviews, so I'm a little bit nervous. But I have been putting it off for a long time, so we just gotta rip off the band-aid, so to speak. And the other series I'm going to be reading book 3 for is another favorite, and it is the Clown in a Cornfield series. I have The Church of Frendo. This is by Cesare, and this is a YA slasher series that takes place in this small town in Missouri? Kansas? Somewhere in the middle where there's lots of cornfields. Anyways, our main character, Quinn, moves to this town with her dad in high school for her senior year. Her dad has just gotten a job as the new sheriff, if I remember correctly, and they move at Halloween, and the big bad for this series is you know what? I'm not going to tell you what the big bad is. It's just going to be a surprise. But Quinn moves to this town, and shortly after, a slasher starts to occur with Frendo, who is this like mascot for the town, being the killer. And then in book 2, Quinn is away at college trying to heal from the events of book 1, and then gets called back to Maybrook. Is that what the town is called, or is that Quinn's last name? Quinn's last name. Yeah, again, I don't remember what the town is called. But she gets called back because Frendo wants revenge for what happened in book 1. And I'm excited and scared and to see what happens in book 3. And I really hope Quinn is in therapy for all the things she's gone through in the last 2 books. But yeah, so hopefully a short and sweet little episode for this series. I have been taking a really long time to film these episodes because I put off these books for a long time, but I'm hoping because it's 2 books that very much have a seasonal expiration date that I will get to these a lot quicker. And I know this one will be completed once I finish this. I need to check and see if there are more Clown in a Cornfield books coming out, or if this is our finale. I don't know. But yeah, I'm so happy you're here, and I hope this is a very, very positive and successful reading vlog. Good morning. It is a super gloomy, rainy Friday, and I've just been reading all morning, pretty much, and I need to come and update you because I'm flying through Scythe and Sparrow. I'm 228 pages in, so I don't know, 2/3? of the way through the book, and I'm enjoying it a lot more than I thought I was going to, just based off of like the little bit of buzz I'd heard about this one. So we have met Fionn and Rose in Butcher and Blackbird and Leather and Lark. They are in the background. Fionn is the brother of the MMCs from the other two books, and he's a doctor in the small town in Nebraska, and Rose is a like trick motorcycle rider at this traveling circus. And when we meet them in Butcher and Blackbird, Rose has a broken leg and is staying at Fionn's house, even though they didn't know each other prior to Rose's injury. And then you see them in the background throughout the course of those two events. So in this book, Brynne Weaver's gone backwards, and we are like up to about this point, like we are getting everything that was happening for Fionn and Rose during the first two books, which I love. I love when authors do that. They like fill in the gaps that way, and then it's like you don't need as much, I don't know, explanation because you've been seeing these characters off and on for other books. So I feel like I didn't need to meet these people because I had already met them, which was great. And I like both of them. I think Fionn might be my favorite of the brothers. He's just so measured and controlled, and I really like that in a romance MMC, because then you get to watch them get unraveled by the FMCs, and that's always a good time. I do think this, like, it's supposed to be a slow burn, and it is friends with benefits, like friends with benefits to lovers. And we've already gotten to the friends with benefit, and I could have used more tension, if I'm being honest. Like, that's my primary complaint, is that I think we were about halfway through when the friends with benefits arrangement was established, and I could have used more tension leading up to that. Rose and Fionn would talk in their heads during their POV chapters about how much tension they felt around each other, but like I could have used more of that. Like I would have liked to have seen it. I felt like we were just told that there was a lot of tension, and I would have liked some more like scenes, or any scenes. I think there was like one of just them being close to each other and having to resist temptation, or like just more yearning, I think is what I was after. I would have liked more yearning. So now we're to the friends with benefits parts, and it's fine. It does mean the steamy scenes have ramped up, which aren't my favorite. I tend to skim them. There's also a kink in this book that really is not for me, and that is coming up in a lot of the steamy scenes, and so I'm skimming them heavily because it's just not something I like to read about. I think I definitely like this more than Leather and Lark. Nothing is going to compare to Butcher and Blackbird, I don't think. I think that might be like Brynne Weaver's 5-star exception. Who knows? I do have her new release like sitting on my book cart in my room. I told myself I had to finish the series before I could start her next one. So I do have tourist season waiting for me. Hopefully I will love that as much as I loved Butcher and Blackbird, but I am having a good time with this. The gore isn't too bad. Well, I feel like there haven't been as many murders in this book as there were in Butcher and Blackbird, and I actually can't remember. Oh, Leather and Lark, I just remembered. Blah. Yeah. Okay, this hasn't been quite as gross, though each time there is a murder, there is a gross part where I'm like, I have to like look away for a minute and then come back. And I don't know why this grosses me out more than reading horror does sometimes, but it just does. But Rose is like a very inept serial killer. She's going after men who beat and abuse their wives and girlfriends. So she's going after really reprehensible people, but she doesn't really know what she's doing, and she's not going into any of these with a plan. And she is like fighting her gag reflex while she's doing it. And she just is so inept, and it's so amateur, and it's kind of funny. And I don't know if I prefer this bumbling effort at vigilante justice, or I prefer someone like, oh, I just forgot her name. And she was in this book too. We got to see her. Her name is Sloane, who is a professional and so is very organized and methodical. Like, I mean, they're both fun. I don't know that I really need to pick one. I'm enjoying both of them. So yeah, I don't know where this will land rating wise. It kind of depends on how this ramps up. Fionn hasn't really started to unravel yet. He's still pretty buttoned up, though he just has finally got very reluctantly stepped in to help Rose cover up her transgressions. So I'm hoping he'll start to unravel here pretty soon, because we keep getting hinted that he has a dark side, but we haven't really seen it yet. So, you know, something to look forward to. I think I have, this is almost 500 pages. Oh no, it's almost 400 pages. Okay, so I have like 170 pages left. I might finish this today just based on how quickly I am consuming this book. It's so easy to read. I meant to update you so much sooner, but putting it down has been really challenging, and I didn't want to put it down to come turn on the camera. I finally had to force myself to do it. I'm going to continue along, and obviously, because I like it, I do think if you're interested in reading this series, but if you aren't sure whether or not to, Brynne Weaver always puts trigger and content warnings in her books at the beginning of her books, which they are always very funny. The way she writes them is hilarious. And then she also puts a playlist with a QR code for both Spotify and Apple Music at the beginning of her books. And I feel like I might want to listen to this one, because there's a bunch of artists on here that I really like, and some who sound like they could be cool. And I'm definitely on a mission right now to expose myself to some new artists and branch out in my music taste, because there's like this crazy stat that once you get over the age of 40, the rate that you listen to new music stagnates, and you just start to pick the artists that were influential when you were in like your late teens and your early 20s. And I love music. I do not want to stagnate and only listen to the people that I listened to when I was that age. So I definitely gonna check out that playlist. I think the next time I'll come and talk to you will be when I finish it, because at my rate of updating, I think that's just gonna work out. I did also start Clown in a Cornfield 3, The Church of Frendo. I didn't get very far. I got 32 pages all the way to chapter 3. I didn't actually hit myself. It was just a close call. I had kind of forgotten, because I just read one a year, how Adam Cesare just like starts off right from the jump, and these books are so gory, and I wasn't quite ready for that amount of gore. So I read 32 pages, and then I was like, maybe I'll read the romance first, and then I'll go back. So I don't have very many thoughts yet, except I do have a sense of dread now about picking this up, but this is also not going to be the final book. I did a Google, and there is going to be a 4, Clown in a Cornfield 4. It's like Lights, Camera, Frendo, I think is the title, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, so I will be finishing one series and just continuing on in another, which is fine. So I'll be back, maybe later today, maybe tomorrow morning. morning. It is Saturday, which I don't think really matters for this vlog because it's not really a weekly vlog, but I finished Scythe and Sparrow this morning. I gave Leather and Lark a much higher rating than I remember giving it. I think of it as being like a very somewhere in the 3-star range kind of book, but I gave it a 4.5. So evidently I enjoyed it a lot more than I remember enjoying it. So that definitely has like thrown off what I would be rating this book. So I don't know. I don't know if I need to reread Leather and Lark to remind myself of how I feel, or if it was actually a 4.5, or I was just so reluctant to give this series anything lower than absolute perfection that I talked myself into a higher rating, or if other people's lower ratings of that book have affected my opinion of that book, because it has been a couple years, a year and a half since I've read it. I'm settling on like a 3.75 for Scythe and Sparrow, which is so much lower than Leather and Lark. But for as long as this book is, I feel like there were so many things that were glossed over that I would have liked to have seen rather than just been told and assured like, oh yeah, this is what happened. Let me back up. Let me try again. Redo. Or as one of my students said the other day, Uno reverse. Let's do this again. I like the setup for this. I liked how Brynne Weaver filled in the gaps for what was happening during the first 2 books. I really like Fiona. I still stand by. I think he is my favorite brother. I like how his character is written. Rowan in this book felt so much more ridiculous than he felt in the other books, or specifically in his book. But I think in contrast to Fiona, I get why people don't like Butcher and Blackbird. Like, if it doesn't work for people, I kind of get it. I kind of get it now. Once he is contrasted against his brothers, that book does feel like those 2 characters feel very over the top and ridiculous compared to everybody else. I like that Brynne Weaver finally addressed how unserious these characters are about their serial killer habits, like how ridiculous it is that they have not been caught yet, and that Rose does not know what she's doing. And the serial killer aspect is not as big a component in this book as it is in the other books. It very much takes a back seat, and the plot revolves around different things in this one. I wish, like I said, we had seen more tension, that there had been more buildup to their chemistry and to their physical relationship, that we had gotten teased a little bit more, because I felt like there wasn't very much yearning, there wasn't very much tension. They talked about, in like their monologued in their heads, in their chapter POVs, about the tension, but we didn't get to see it, and I really wanted to see it. I also feel like once they start banging, they bang so much, which I understand is the point. These are steamy books, but the banging was the least interesting part of this book for me. And there is also a time jump that I didn't love, and I don't know. I think at the end of the day, I liked this book, but it is definitely not a favorite. And I don't think it's definitely not my favorite of the series. I guess it's my least favorite. I guess I like Leather and Lark more. I think I like this series, even though Rowan felt ridiculous in this book, the little bit he was in it, especially because there's a part of the book that is from his POV. Like, his ridiculousness felt so over the top, I think, in this book, because Rose and Fiona definitely felt the most grounded in reality out of all of these characters. I also feel like we got less of Rose's backstory than we did for Lark or for Sloane. I felt like we got a lot of their backstory, and it was very much glossed over in Scythe and Sparrow. So I don't know. I guess I could have just wanted more. Like, we have a lot of pages. I would have liked to have been shown more of these characters than we got, is I think where I'm landing. So hence my 3.75. I am very excited at the prologue. I think there's like, or not the prologue, the epilogue. There's a lot of epilogues in this book. I did read all of them. And the very last one, I think, hints at who the main character is going to be for tourist season, Brynne Weaver's newest book. So I'm excited to get into that. And now that I have finished the Ruinous Love trilogy, I can dive into that one. So super excited. The plan for today is to go to the gym, which is why I'm in the car. And I'm also going to start, like, I started it already, but I'm going to officially dive into the Church of Frendo. This picks up after book 2, but I don't know how long it's been. I'm going to assume it's a year because that's about how long of a jump there is between book 1 and book 2. Quinn is not in a good place, which should be assumed because she has survived 2 slashers at this point. And we're kind of bopping around between a whole bunch of characters. We got our prologue is with a different character, but he's somebody who was involved in the slasher from book 2, and Quinn has hunted him down. And that's like our clue that Quinn is in a really dark place right now. And then we switch to this little girl who lives in like this really small community where a new pastor has come to town and has taken over the church and has started to taint the morals and ethics of this town. And so we get a perspective from, I think she's like 15 or 14, from a girl who's watching this and is very freaked out by what she sees happening to her community. And then in chapter 2, we're in Quinn's dad's perspective. So I'm not sure how much more we are going to jump around. I think chapter 3, we're switching perspectives again. I think Quinn is going to end up in this town where Frendo has become the pastor, or somebody who is Frendo has become the pastor. And if you haven't read this slasher series before, I really like it. It's very fun. It's very gory. Like, I know it's YA, but I feel like maybe it doesn't need to be YA because of how gory it is. But the evil in this book is MAGA and that kind of mindset of exclusionary and only people who belong are the people who look like us, believe like us, sound like us, and talk like us. And that's really what Frendo is trying to obliterate, is anybody who doesn't worship the great and powerful and glorious leader, maybe without using the specific people, like real world people in this book, but that is definitely the vibe. So I think it's great. It's been another really lovely, gloomy weekend day here. It's now Sunday, and I did a lot of things this morning. I did a lot of cleaning. I worked out, and I just get to relax for the rest of the afternoon now, and I'm pretty delighted about it. I'm so close to being 50% of the way through Clown in a Cornfield 3, and I am liking it more than I did initially. We got some new characters introduced that are, I think, really saving this book from being too depressing. But then on the other side, we're not in Quinn's head as much as we used to be, or were in the other 2 books. And I just don't know that slasher series are what I'm looking for. I really love a slasher, but if the author is doing their job well, and we're doing a series of slashers and it's the main character through each book, like, the main character is going to be going through it, because that is a lot to live through, and there's going to be trauma, and there's going to be PTSD, and of course none of these girls ever get therapy. I'm looking at Quinn and I'm looking at Jade Daniels. And so they're just like struggling to survive emotionally and mentally now that they're done surviving physically, or while they are surviving physically. This one's also stressing me out more, I think, because of the religious aspect and this church of Frendo that's being established in this new Kettle Springs. It took me a while to remember what the name of the town was from the other two books, and it is called Kettle Springs. So this is like a new Kettle Springs, and this community that this cult has moved into was not Amish or Mennonite, but very like that style of living where they don't have technology and they make their own food and they harvest everything that they need to survive and they raise livestock. So it's not a modern lifestyle by any means. And watching through Tabitha, our other main character, watching through her eyes as she sees her religion twisted and perverted for this cult, and as she watches the adults get twisted and perverted by this cult and their belief system, and watching their personalities change, and just how harsh and regimented everything is. And I think it's so close to some of the hypocrisy that I see in a lot of seemingly religious people in the United States. It is stressful for me to be reading, and I do like religious horror, but I like religious horror when the main character is unpacking their trauma, not when it's actively harming them. So this is a tough hang for me. This is not the fun time I was anticipating, but I guess I maybe should have expected after reading My Heart is a Chainsaw trilogy. Like, it makes sense. This is the road we would be going down. Also, I forgot how freaking long the chapters were. Good God, so long. But anyways, my family is out for a little bit. I am going to sit down, read some more. I'm 200 pages in. I don't know if I can read 300 pages. Like, not 300 pages. I don't know if I can read 300 pages. I feel like that sentence still didn't make sense. I would like to read another 100 pages today. I don't know how doable that is, but I'm gonna give it my best try. We'll see what happens. I feel like sequels aren't working for me this year, and I'm not sure why, but I feel like for a lot of these episodes of Book Series Bingo, and then also just in general with my reading this year, I feel like when I read a sequel in a series, it's just not having the same impact or enjoyment that previous books in the series have done. And I don't know if it's just the subsequent books aren't as good as the first one, aren't as engaging, and I'm not connecting with the characters in the same way. If it's a symptom of this existential dread I seem to be carrying with me this year, and I am anticipating carrying for the next 3 years. Hopefully not longer than that, but you know, without a crystal ball, who can say? So I'm just not sure what these sequel books are lacking for me to be enjoying them more, or if it's just me, and this is just the space I'm in right now, and it takes an extra effort on a book's part to get me as sucked in and engaged as I would have been last year or 2 years ago, or 4 years ago, or whatever, however far back we want to go. So yeah, I'm giving this a 3.75. I didn't feel like this one was as fun as the previous two books. We were barely in Kettle Springs at all. We were in New Kettle Springs quite a lot, but we barely went back to the town. Quinn was very much on her own in this book. Cole and Rust, her two best friends, are not in it like at all. There's, one scene with them in it. And so Quinn is very much on her own and on like this hero's journey. And I don't enjoy that. I've talked about this so many times, I feel like, this year. I don't like when an author puts together characters in the first book. They form a really great relationship. I really love their dynamics with each other. And then in a next book, they are separated. And then I feel like that unmoors the main character, and I feel like they lose their way a lot when that happens. So I did like Quinn on her own. There was this other character that she was road tripping with as she was trying to figure out what was going on with this New Kettle Springs situation. And I liked that character a lot, but Adam Cesare tried to do a romance between the two of them, and it felt so unnecessary and unbelievable and heavy-handed. I would have liked it so much better if they had just become friends. This little like mini romantic subplot, I feel like he didn't commit to it all the way. Like, it was something that he did because fans have wanted him to do it, but I didn't feel like it was really true to Quinn or to this guy. Like, I just didn't feel it or see it, or it just was weird. I didn't feel like the slasher elements were as enjoyable, sorry, in this one either. Sad to say, maybe, I don't know. Talking about my enjoyment of slashers always gets weird, but I felt like it just wasn't as fun. It wasn't as fun. It wasn't as campy as the previous books have been. And I understand, like, Quinn has had trauma and PTSD, and like she's gonna be a different person. Like, the experiences of the past two books is going to change who she is. But I don't know. I missed who Quinn was in the last book. I also don't know if I believe the ending, because something happened at the end that's a big deal. And from reading Adam Cesare's author's note, which, by the way, don't read the author's note first. There's a spoiler for this book in it. Sometimes I'll read the author's note first, or like when I'm halfway through the book, and I'm so glad I didn't do it this time. So like, his note confirmed that what happened actually happened, but I don't know if I believe it. And because I don't believe it, it didn't have the emotional impact that I feel like it should have had. I feel like I should have been devastated at the end of this book, and I'm not. So I don't know. I'll be really interested to find out what happens with book 4 and where we go from there. And I don't know. I just hope book 4 can get back to the stuff that I love, but I also don't know how he's going to do a book 4, because I feel like the arc we've been on has been like everything that can be gotten out of it, I feel like has gotten out of it. So he's either going to have to do a turn and focus elsewhere and on other things, or it's just not going to be as good. I don't know, but I will definitely read the next one. But I am glad I got this from the library. I did buy Clown in a Cornfield because I loved it so much, and I was debating if I was going to start collecting the series, but I think no. I think I'm fine with just owning the first book and just getting the rest of the series from the library as they come out. I did miss not having it on audio this time. I listened to book 1 and book 2 on audio, and while like this was plenty easy to read and I had a fine time reading it, I did miss having the audiobook to read alongside. So yes, now that that is done, that wraps up this last episode, or not episode, this episode of book series Bingo is Spooky Edition. I'm really glad that I have ticked these 2 series off my list, or continuing in these 2 series off my list, even though I wasn't super happy with both of them. Did I give them both the same rating? I think I did. I think they both got a 3.75, which is unfortunate. But going forward for the rest of the year, because, you know, my goal was to black out this bingo board, which feels very lofty. I don't know that there will be an individual episode of book series Bingo between now and the end of 2025. Clear Your Shit is about to start on Saturday. It's currently Monday. And that is a 2-month-long readathon where the goal is to read the books that you already own that are on your physical TBR. And I have a lot of books, like a lot of the sequels I want to read are on my physical TBR, but because I'm going to be following prompts, I don't think it'll make sense to do designated book bingo episode. So I'll probably just check in with that bingo board as we go through the readathon. When I read something that is on the bingo board, I'll pull it up, we'll check it out off, and then probably in December I will do a designated check-in video on how I'm doing and what progress I have made, and if I'm actually going to be able to black out that board by the end of the year. So yeah, that's the plan. And with that, this video is going to come to an end. Thank you so much for watching and spending your precious time with me. I really appreciate it. If you want to leave an emoji to let me know you were here, let's do a clown emoji. And otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Bye!